Joining us now, contributing writer for the New York Times and Politico magazine and author of the new book, Raising Them Right, Kyle Spencer. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us this morning. You've interviewed Nick Fuentes. Talk to us about him and the appeal that he seems to have for many in far-right circles.
So I did interview Nick Fuentes in 2019, and Fuentes has tried very, very hard to get himself into the center of the conversation. He's done that a lot by trying to associate himself with other right-wing groups like Turning Point USA, and often shows up at their conferences and has a kind of war constantly going on with Charlie Kirk, who runs Turning Point USA. He's a really snarky guy, and in a lot of ways, when he spouts a lot of this anti-Semitism, he does it in a way as if he actually thinks this is sort of funny, that this is a big game. I think right now he's absolutely delighted to be in the limelight.
So it's sort of the own the libs social media troll factor is part of what he does, yeah? In the book, you say, you discuss what you say is the we hate everybody mentality of the right, which I think is connected to the point we just made. What sort of impact is that having with younger Americans? What's the appeal? Yeah,
so I think what we've seen over the last, 3 or 4 years under Trump was this kind of attachment to some of this hate and this kind of own the libs, we hate woke people. But now what I think is happening is these guys have kind of jumped the shark. They've gone too far. And I think we saw that in the midterms, and we're seeing that more and more with young people who are saying maybe not. Before it was we hate immigrants on our college campuses. We hate folks who support affirmative action. We hate people who aren't Christian nationalists. And now it's we hate everybody. And for young people, I think it's a little bit like, well, that's not so appealing to us.
So what is the future, if you will, of this particular moment? There are some big names out there espousing pretty horrible things. Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, another. Obviously, Donald Trump just gave a huge platform to this individual, Mr. Fuentes. But where does this go from here, you think?
I think that if the young right in particular, and some of the folks who've tried, like Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA and another group, Young Americans for Liberty, if they can dial it back and they can go back to their effort to sort of pretend that everything they think is fairly innocuous and not so white nationalist, they'll be okay. But if they will continue, unfortunately, to gather support. But they're really in an echo chamber at this point, and they have gone deep, deep into a lot of this darkness, and I don't even think they realize it, and they're turning off more and more young people. And if they keep with this, I think what we're gonna see is young people turning away and saying, hey, no, we don't represent that. That does not represent our generation.
Kyle Spencer, precisely the right person to have on this morning to talk about this. The new book, Raising Them Right. Thank you again.